years ago, I was back in Germany after having lived there for about 5 months on exchange in 10th grade. And I went back the 2 summers after that, and I wanted to go visit my host family again. And when I showed up, it's a place in the north of Germany, sometimes called Kuhdorf or Cowtown. It's just surrounded by cows. My host father, his job title is milk and herd management, and he drives around in a big white van painted with black cow spots called the Kubus, or the cow van. And he drives around Germany with this, advising people on their cows' udder health. So, so if the cows are getting any diseases in their udders, that's bad for them and bad for the milk. So he helps them with their milking machines and robots. And they've acquired a whole herd of these vehicles at this point. So they have a little calf now, and he's on his third cow bus. So after he's done with the first and second one, he just sells them to his family. So people will be like, "Hey, Eckhart, are you up in the north?" He's like, "No, I'm in Switzerland today. That must be my sister-in-law. She has cow number 2. They live on Cow Street. It's a very cowy area. And when I showed up there about 2 years after my exchange, I was hoping to see my whole host family, but learned then that they weren't going to be there, and that only my exchange, Max, was going to be there. And I got dropped off late in the night with a blah blah car, which was very nice, door-to-door service to Cowtown that she actually knew of, the nice lady. And I showed up, and Max had done what every responsible 17, 18-year-old would do. As soon as his parents left on vacation, he threw a rager and invited everyone. So I showed up after a long day of travel, just wanting to go back to a place where I had called home for 5 months, or I had ever had a really life-changing experience. And I showed up to a huge party, which was fine. But if you know me, you know I'd much rather curl up with a cup of herbal tea and my knitting than go out and drink all night. So I showed up, and it was nice to see Max and nice to catch up with people, but then I wanted to go to bed, probably midnight or 1 o'clock, which is about my limit. And there were 3 people in my old bed, and I was like, that's fine, then I guess I'll just sleep on the futon. And then by the time I was trying to go to sleep, 2 more people had showed up on the same futon. So I was like, okay, well, I guess it's nice to be back, but it's just not the same place. You go back expecting something, and it's something very different. And my host father wasn't there, who I'd had a really great connection with. Very relevant to the former story. He taught me how to drive stick in the cow van on the tractor roads around the house. So one time we were driving along, and I'm driving my host brother and sister in the back, and we're all learning how to drive. And a farmer pulls up on his tractor and he goes, "Hello, what are you doing there?" And Eckhart, my host dad, ducks his head. He goes, "Oh no, you got me." He's like, "We're just learning how to drive." He goes, "Well, this is my land, right?" And Eckhart goes, "Well, we thought the tractor paths were open for everyone." He goes, "They are not." So we stopped coming back after that experience. But fast forward to 2 years later, and I was just trying to get a good night's sleep. The next day, it was a whole week that his parents were going to be gone. So I was just there alone, basically, with Max, and his biggest quest of the week was to acquire himself high-quality weed to smoke. And I was like, that's cool, I guess, but I'm not about that. I want to do other things, like go swimming at a lake. But by the time we got to the lake, the sun had already set. So I was like, "So Max, I thought we were going to swim because it's hot out." He's like, "Yeah, but we need to strap the boombox on the bike so we could have the tunes to get to the lake after we had gone town to town looking for my dealer to get the good weed." And I was like, "Cool, Max, that's fine." And the next day, basically the same thing happened again. And so I was feeling at this point very not in the best place, and not comfortable, not happy with how things were going. I missed my old life there with a home and a family, going to school and meeting people. And I was in the middle of a gap year, doing the thing where you just go to another country and try to figure things out, try to learn, travel, meet people. And I had gotten to a very, very low point in my feelings. So I woke up on the 3rd day of being at home alone with Max, and it was maybe 5:30 a.m. And I just wrote home a note. I'm like, "Max, I headed out. good to see you, no worries, I'm fine. I wasn't fine, but I just packed my suitcase and just actually, very dramatic, movie style, just walked out. And I was like, I had recently watched Into the Wild, so I was like, I will do that. I have a hammock in my travel suitcase. I could not be better prepared. So I hitchhiked. I was like, all right, I'll just walk down the roads. And some nice guy stopped and brought me a couple. I'm like, I'm going to go all the way across Germany and go back to this town I really liked in the south. I didn't get very far, but I found some blackberries on the way. I'm like, natural foods. I am a bear. I can survive in the wild on pure berries, and maybe I'll even find some honey. And then another guy picked me up in a big van, coincidentally, and brought me to the town where I had gone to school, the small city. And I scavenged myself some like healthy protein bars from a Whole Foods store. I found some tarps at a construction site that had been thrown out, and I was like, shelter, hammock plus tarps is perfect shelter, and I have so much food. And so I went and just walked, and I had my suitcase pulling along and converted it into a backpack. And got lost in some marshes, got my shoes very wet, and actually put up my hammock and slept in the woods on the side of the road somewhere outside of this town, totally alone. And the tarps I put over me, thought they would help to protect me from the rain, maybe some bad weather if it happened to come. But unfortunately, tarps don't do anything for the cold air that comes up through the very skinny travel hammock. So I woke up many times in the middle of the night, freezing my ass off, just being like, why did I do this? What a terrible idea. The movies have lied to me. I thought this would be so much more adventurous and easy and exciting. And I was like, I have only one hope, woofing. So, as many of you may know, woofing is where you go around the world and you can stay on organic farms and work a few hours a day in exchange for room and board. So I wrote some messages desperately to some farms in northern Germany, like, I need a place to stay, could you help me out? And one of them responded a few hours later. They're like, sure, when do you want to come in? I'm like, right now. They're like, oh, right now. We thought you would give us a few weeks notice. I'm like, well, I would love to come in later this afternoon. And thankfully they were very kind and accepting, and I could hop on some trains. And that's where I decided to hide and just retreat from the world and cut myself off for a week or two. And I did. I turned my phone on airplane mode. I left it in my room. I read a terrible, like, crime novel that just kept repeating the same, like, cliche phrases. And I fought my way through that book just to have something to do. I worked on this thing called a weed flyer, where you laid down. It's like this thing that gets pulled behind a tractor, and like 4 or 5 people lay face down on the top of this thing and slowly pick weeds out of the ground as the tractor drives at like maybe 1 mile per hour. Much better than crouching. And I just absolutely, I was like, I need to get away from it all. I need time off. This might help me to feel better about myself. And there were these 3 little girls, and who were the children of the farmers. There were some other like woofers there and people who lived there. So it was, but I had not contacted Max. I had not told my family where I was. No friends. Just I didn't have it in me. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to respond. So during this week, it happened to be my 17th birthday. So I found out 2 or 3 days after the fact, when I turned my phone back on, that everyone had written me a lot of messages and was very concerned about me, but that just hadn't computed. It hadn't clicked with me that, maybe people are worried about me. Maybe people should know where I am and what I'm doing. So I ended up spending my 17th birthday with a guy. We drove across the country, like maybe 2 or 3 hours away to the other coast, to fill these giant cube-shaped bags with like wheat husks. I didn't know what they wanted to do with them. Some kind of like storage or padding for animals. And this stuff was so dusty that you would shovel it for a few seconds and then just cough up so much dust. And we had to fill a whole massive trailer full of these giant cubes that just made you die coughing as soon as you started shoveling them. And we got back, I think, after that long work day. These things got so heavy. It was like such a like imagine a massive cube just stuff. It's so light when you run your hands through it, like you could jump in it and have fun, except for the dust that's making you die. But then these things got so heavy, they had to just pick them up with a forklift and put them in. So we didn't get back until probably 8 or 9 at night, after which I promptly fell asleep. So I unfortunately made everyone very concerned about my whereabouts and my well-being for my 17th birthday. But I was happy to have a place to retreat and to hide. I was able to read fairy tales in German to these little girls who wanted to always go swimming with me in the little pond. I was able to just reset and relax and read a terrible book, but at least I was reading instead of getting caught up in some other vices and different things that I don't really enjoy and love doing. And I still go up and down. Sometimes you'll see me very happy and sociable, sometimes you'll see me hardly at all, and it's difficult for me to find things to say, but yeah, don't ever feel like it's anything to do with you. It's that's how I am, and that's how I've been for a long time. But I am happy to have so many different experiences and people here that I can always reach out to and open up to. So thank you to all of you who are concerned and reach out to me. Thank you.